Hello, and welcome to the Partstat webinar, Sustaining Today's Technology for Many Tomorrows. We have an exciting presentation for you guys today on how electronics manufacturers are improving free cash flow. I'm Michael Stratton, the Director of Marketing here at Partstat, and with me today I have Menefee, our CEO, and Michael Carpino, our VP of Sales. If anyone has any questions, please add them to the chat box, and we'll be sure to get to those at the end if we have time. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Dennis to kick us off. Dennis?
Great, thanks Michael, and thanks everyone for attending our WebEx today about improving free cash flow. This is a big topic amongst many of the electronics manufacturers that we work with. Before we get started into how Partstat can help electronic manufacturers improve free cash flow, I wanted to share a little background on Partstat. Partstat's an ISO 9001-2015 and AS9120B certified company. We are headquartered in Winter Springs, Florida, which is just outside of beautiful Orlando. And we also have a sales office in Shanghai to provide support to our global customers manufacturing in that region. And Partstat's been in business for almost 30 years. Today, we're discussing how Partstat can improve free cash flow for electronic manufacturers. And one of the most significant uses of working capital is securing inventory, such as purchases of end-of-life, last-time-buy components. And these types of purchases can tie up limited working capital for multiple years.
You know, all companies are kind of rated by how they're using their working capital within their industries. And there are working capital ratios out there. And it's a common measure of a company's liquidity, efficiency, and overall health. And really what we're talking about here today in terms of working capital and freeing up cash flow is, you know, how a company can demonstrate, you know, their inventory management skills. Our value prop that we're talking about today is the fact that we can help you with your cash flow because we will buy and store up to 20 years of last time buy inventory. Now we purchase that direct from the manufacturer and before the last time buy date.
Yeah, and this correlates directly to improving free cash flow.
Exactly.
So we found that all of our customers had one thing in common, and it was that they were deploying large amounts of their working capital, their operating cash, each year to secure all inventory for different reasons, such as end-of-life, last-time buy components, to ensure business continuity for their business. Each of our customers selected Partstat after auditing our facilities and processes and protocols, and we passed all audits from a supply chain, finance, controllership, and quality perspective.
You know, I think one thing most of these manufacturers have in common is they're very heavy in inventory, right? And they have long-term platforms, as you had described. So they're all dealing with cash flow issues.
Yeah, that's true. And so, you know, whether you're in the medical industry or aerospace industry, you can pick up any types of industry that have that make products that have long life cycles. And so our solution fits very good into that type of model. And lots of benefits for all customers that we step into outside of the of improving free cash flow. But Michael, you're going to go through some of those benefits for us now.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I know that you know, Dennis, you and I were talking to an electronic electronic manufacturer. I think it was an EMS supplier. We speak directly to OEMs and also to EMS suppliers, and they talk about how frequently they're having meetings about wanting to reduce inventory. Right? Finance does not want to spend money on inventory in a lot of cases. They have to when you're dealing with last time buys and end of life. So the number one thing that our solution does is preserve working capital. And of course, the finance department is most interested in getting the best return for that working capital. It's not an inventory. It's reinvesting it in ROIC. Now, another benefit of our program is we're actually saving our customers on inventory carrying costs. If you look at our service fees and you compare it to the typical inventory carrying cost of an OEM or even an EMS supplier, we actually save our customers money. Now, inventory carrying cost is much more than just the cost of capital. There's also service costs, which can include insurance and taxes, and of course, there's always storage costs, warehousing, handling and administration. The other challenge that they face and that we support, or the benefit is that we support their long-term platforms. They might have a large installed base that's going to be out there for 20 years. They might have a design build that has 7 more years worth of production. So we're securing the inventory for the customer so they can support their long-term platforms. One of the other features of our program is the customers, you're really eliminating component inflation. You know, Dennis, when a component goes obsolete, we've seen it when it goes into the open marketplace, and it gets sometimes, what, 2x, 3x, even more inflation.
Exactly. You know, typically in the electronics industry, when a component transitions into obsolescence, you'll see a multiplier of the original price. We have seen some crazy multipliers of those prices as they transition to obsolescence. And I think that's one of the unique features of our solution is that the day that we purchase the inventory, all costs are locked in on that component. So if it's 5 years of inventory, 10 years of inventory, 15 years of inventory, on year 15 when we're shipping that component, it's at the original price that on the day that we purchase the inventory for our customer. And so locking in those costs is something this industry hadn't seen, particularly with obsolete parts. And you know, to date, we've probably preserved close to $250 million of working capital for our customers. And allowing that, like you had mentioned, allowing those companies to have those dollars available to roll into projects that are going to bring a return on investment for them is key.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, one of the things too, when we're purchasing these components, they come direct from the manufacturer. So you know, after obsolescence, not only do the costs go up, but now the OEMs and the EMS suppliers have to deal with counterfeit parts mitigation. And, you know, nobody wants to be there. Our program eliminates that need.
Yeah, and the other option is redesign, which we know that can be costly and time consuming as well.
Very expensive. We talked to a aerospace supplier and they gave us a redesign analysis versus purchasing a $2 million last time buy. And that what was that again? That was it $6 million?
I think it was $6 million to redesign.
$6 million to redesign that board or make a $2 million last time buy purchase. Of course, we made that purchase for them, so it was an easy decision for them.
Yeah, these are some great benefits for using our solution, and all of these lend a hand in improving free cash flow. So we've executed over 200 last time buys with some of the top component manufacturers and suppliers in the world. Some of these transactions you see on the screen here could be one purchase, or it could be an accumulation of purchases. We've also worked in synergy with many of the authorized distributors like Arrow and Avnet. You see them here on the screen as well, to provide this end-of-life last time buy solution for their customers as well. Usually when these companies purchase, they may make the initial purchase of inventory, but maybe only hold for 12 months, and indeed we'll step in and purchase it from Arrow, Avnet at that point, and then provide their customer maybe another 7, 8, or 10 years to take delivery and pay for that inventory. So we do work directly with component manufacturers, as Michael mentioned. Usually when we're executing, the customer's bringing us to the table and we're having a three-way conversation with the component manufacturer, and then we're executing on the behalf of our customer using our own capital dollars to secure that inventory. But indeed, if another partner out there, it could be an authorized distributor, it could be another integrator of some sort, has made a purchase, we can certainly purchase the inventory if they no longer want to hold it as well.
And talking about freeing up cash flow, you remember the Intel transaction. That was actually a family of Altera products that Intel now owns. And that $20 million, that's free cash flow that the OEM still has to utilize towards ROIC, because we were able to step in. We purchased the $20 million. Now, in that case, that represented probably around, I think it was 7 years worth of
7 years.
Production?
I believe you're right.
Yeah, so 7 years worth of production. So the OEM in this case would have had $20 million of cash spent, $20 million of inventory on their books, which would be slowly consumed over a 7-year period. Our solution immediately freed up the $20 million, and we were able to provide a long-term delivery schedule to them equal to 7 years.
Yeah, and this solution is really gaining traction with component manufacturers because of the benefits that it provides them as well. You know, it's protecting their design wins, keeps them relevant on their customers' PCBs, and offers their customers a softer landing when dealing with the end-of-life, last-time buy issue.
And you know, just a quick mention too. You had talked about it briefly, but you know, Arrow and Avnet, we're coming in after their typical hold periods, right?
12 months.
Yeah. So the Arrow and Avnet might hold. You know, they don't want to hold inventory. They're all about inventory turns. And you know, we've seen you know, at the most where they might hold something for 18 months, and in many cases we take over from there, and we can put a 7, 10 year plus 20-year schedule on components depending on what the customer needs.
That's correct. So obviously we couldn't do any of these things without this specialized storage infrastructure, Michael, and we've invested a lot in making sure that we have all those things in place.
Yeah, exactly. We're much more than, you know, what a 3PL company has in terms of capabilities, because, you know, we specialize in electronic components. We have all the processes and protocols in place to be able to properly handle electronic components, to include protocols for MSL and for ESD. We follow all of the JDEC standards, so you can rest assured that your components are safe with us here at Partstat. Worldwide fulfillment, you know, we ship worldwide every single day. We're experts in import-export administration. We also have reporting services. You know, a lot of times what happens, and Dennis, I think an OEM sat down and told us once that, you know, a lot of times we make a last-time buy purchase, and then we kind of forget about it until we run out of that inventory. So so consumption monitoring certainly helps them with knowing if they're over consuming, because if we can get in before that last time buy purchase date goes away, we're able to buy more inventory for that customer.
Yeah, we ask our customers to try to get us involved at the end of life notice date, because that gives us some time to start shipping according to their forecast and monitoring if they're in that overconsumption mode. And if we see that they're over-consuming, we can report that to them, as Michael said, on a monthly or quarterly basis. And then that allows us to go and purchase more of that inventory before that last time buy window closes. So the consumption report's a really good feature within the solution.
You know, the thing too is that, you know, that OEM had mentioned to us that they were literally on their 4th last time buy before they were able to institute our program. And I think there's a fear really of buying too much, because they have to spend all those dollars up front. So our solution helps, you know, they can purchase to their forecast, and they're not going to take that huge cash hit up front. It is going to be spread out over 7 years, but certainly the consumption reports help them to know what they're consuming. Lastly, you know, we still act as the liaison to the component manufacturer, so we do all warranty administration, RMA administration, and certainly will handle any failure analysis requests.
So obviously, how this critical end-of-life, specifically end-of-life last-time buy inventory is stored, is very important. And just having insurance coverage is not enough security. Obviously, if this inventory is damaged by any event, it may represent tens of millions of dollars of downstream revenue that can't be realized because the parts are no longer manufactured. So we take this to another level, and that's why we built the Semiconductor Vault inside of our warehouse here in Winter Springs, Florida. And this vault protects this critical end-of-life last-time buy inventory from fire, flood, and any other natural disasters. It's got an 1,100-pound door. It's got ceramic fiber walls that have a steel Faraday cage around it. It's magnetically shielded. It's got its own internal workings in terms of air conditioning, humidity controlled, magnetic shielding, and everything. So a very cool piece of innovation that we have here at Partstat. So when we purchase the end-of-life components, they go inside this vault so that we ensure business continuity for our customers. So also inside the vault, we provide die and wafer banking as well. Sometimes we are purchasing die and wafer for our customers in that, or semiconductors in that form. We do have high-tech dry cabinets inside the vault, so that when we purchase this type of inventory and they need to be in these dry cabinets, we store them in dry cabinets, but we add a level of security on top of that, and that we put them inside this vault, and inside the vault. And so these dry cabinets can keep the relative humidity less than 1%. They're quite amazing. So that wraps up our presentation today about improving free cash flow for electronics manufacturers. And now I think we have time for some questions and answers from our audience. And as Michael Stratton mentioned at the beginning, obviously if we don't get to all your questions here, I see that we have quite a few. We'll answer them after the webinar. We'll make sure we get an answer back to everyone who's asked a question. But Michael, if you want to tee a couple of these up for us, we'll answer them right now.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll take 2 or 3 minutes and try to go through some of these questions. We do have a few here. So I guess the first one would be probably for Michael Carpino, and this is kind of a popular question that we get. Can you ship and bill to my EMS provider?
Yes, yeah, exactly. We can. Typically what's happening is an OEM is bringing us into this scenario. They're faced with an EOL last time buy, and the EMS supplier is pushed back to them, and truly the OEM is going to be the one making the purchase, and the OEM is the entity that we have the supply agreement with. However, OEMs often request, I think every time really, when they deal with contract manufacturers, that we ship to the contract manufacturer and actually bill the contract manufacturer for the price of the components, sometime to include the service fee. So the answer is yes, we absolutely ship to contract manufacturers.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. And then I'll give this next one to Dennis. So Dennis, is there a limit to how much inventory Partstat can actually buy?
Great question. The answer is no, there is no limit. What we do is we set up a supply agreement with the customer in a template form, because many of our customers have global footprints. They have sourcing executives throughout the world. So we set the supply agreement up. Once we have a supply agreement in place with a customer, there's absolutely no limit as to how much inventory we can secure for that customer each year.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you, Dennis. And then, Michael, I'll give you the next one. We'll kind of do a back and forth type of thing here. And Michael, I think that you might laugh at this question just because it's so popular. I mean, we pretty much get this question every time. But how does our pricing work? How does your pricing work?
Well, I'm surprised that wasn't question number 1. You sure that wasn't question number 1?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a great service here, but it always comes down to price, and does it make sense for our customer base? And the answer is yes. The way it works is we charge a service fee. Now it's an annualized service fee. Now that fee, it basically depends on the credit of the customer, the length of the term, and of course the size of the transaction. What I can say is that we beat our customers' inventory carrying costs. Their inventory carrying costs range anywhere from 12% up to 20% we've seen in a lot of cases. Now remember, those inventory carrying costs include much more than just the cost of capital. You've got the inventory service cost, which is taxes and insurance, let alone the warehouse space and the administration and the labor to be able to take care of those components. I would say that across the board, we're able to save our customers on average of 40% off of their inventory carrying costs for sure. And there might be some EMS suppliers on the line here. I think there was one. I saw recognized a name. Typically, an EMS supplier, if they're holding inventory for an OEM, they're charging them a holding fee. We've seen those fees probably average around 12 to 15%. We're able to beat that too. And we hear you, EMS suppliers. We've heard from you that you're really not in the business to hold inventory, even though you charge a holding fee. That's not what you want to do. So certainly contact us, and we can provide a solution for you too.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. And Dennis, also another popular question. I'm going to give this one to you. How long can you hold the inventory, or how long can Partstat hold the inventory?
That's a great question. When we were first designing this solution, we knew that there's a mismatch in the life cycles between OEM products and the life cycles of semiconductors and electronic components that go into those products. So, and many of our customers, whether they're in aerospace or medical or industrial, they have many products that have long life cycles. Platforms could be as much as 20 or 25 years. So we needed a solution that matched that type of life cycle of our customers. And so we can purchase inventory, and we can support schedules up to 20 years.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you, Dennis. And then we have time for one last question because we were trying to keep the 20 minutes and we're 1 minute away from that time marker. So, Michael Carpino, I'm going to send this last question your way. What types of inventory can Partstat purchase?
Well, that answer is going to take me about 30 minutes to answer. Everyone hold on. Primarily, we're dealing with board-level electronic components, semiconductor-level type product. However, we've had a lot of different products enter into our program via computer peripherals, video cards, hard drives, solid-state drives, you name it, all the way up to computer towers. Can you think of any other, Dennis?
Yeah, I know we do some die and wafer. We'll purchase die and wafer, hard drives, graphic cards, like you mentioned, semiconductors. We do get into some electromechanical things as well. So really, if it fits within our warehouse and it fits within the supply agreement, we can purchase almost any type of product for a customer.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you everyone on the line that joined us on the call today to review Partstat's EOL last time buy solution, which has proven to improve free cash flow. If we did not get to your question, we will be answering those on our LinkedIn page. So please check that out after the call. Otherwise, you can also look for the recording just in case you jumped in the middle of the call. The recording will be posted there as well. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.